Hello students, in this video we are going to study what is Urysohn's lemma. So what it states is a topological space x comma tau. We are considering a topological space x comma tau is normal. This is said to be normal if and only if this is normal space x comma tau is normal if and only if given a pair of disjoint closed set A comma B subset of X and A and B are disjoint closed set, there is a continuous function f defined on X to R such that f of A is equal to singleton set 0 and f of B is equal to 1. And what is this R? X is this one topological space which is defined on X, and R is defined as whenever X belongs to real number, that is X is less than or equal to X less than or equal to 1. So R is between 0 to 1. Some real value between 0 to 1. So Urysohn lemma states that X is normal if for a disjoint closed set A comma B subset of X, there exists a continuous function f such that X to R which is defined as f of A is equal to 0, f of B is equal to 1. And how we are taking R? R is some real value between 0 to 1. Now we are going to prove this. Very first thing, we will take R as a real number which lies between 0 to 1. So R denotes the set of all real numbers between 0 to 1. With whenever it is defined on 0 to 1, we say it is usual topology. Now, what is our data? X comma tau is a topological space. This is a topological space. We have to prove it is normal. So, what is our data? R is some real number between 0 to 1 and is defined as usual topology. Usual topology means f of A is equal to 0, f of B is equal to 1 for some closed set A and B subset of X, and A and B should be disjoint set. These are the things we have as a data, and we have to prove X comma tau is a normal space. So we are having A comma B subset of X, and A and B are closed set and A and B are disjoint set. There exists a continuous function f x to R such that f of A is equal to 0, f of B is equal to 1. Now we are going to prove the space is normal space. To prove the space is normal space, I am taking some values in R. I will take it as A and B. If these are some values belongs to R. See, whenever we are having 0 to 1, in between so many values are there. Here I am considering two values. Obviously one value will be less than that, right? So I am taking A as less than B. So if this is A, this is B, A is less than B. 2 points may coincide with each other. In that case, A is equal to B. So I am considering 2 points in R, A and B such that A is less than or equal to B. So I am going to consider an open set in such a way that G is equal to 0 to A. Closed interval 0 to A. It means A is not included. And I will define H as B to 1. open interval, open half interval b comma 1. Obviously G and H are disjoint set because this is our G and this is our H. Suppose if A and B are equal, we are not including that value, right? So whether A and B are equal or unequal, this G and H are disjoint open sets. Now G and H are open means F inverse of G and F inverse of H. This is defined on R. So what is our F? F is defined from X to R. It is defined on R. Therefore, F inverse of G and F inverse of H are open in X. Also, we are having A and B are, capital A and capital B are subset of X and these are disjoint closed sets. This implies F inverse of 0 comma A F inverse of 0 comma B B comma 1. How we will define F inverse of 0 comma A intersection F inverse of B comma 1? This is nothing but F inverse of 0 comma A intersection B comma 1. So what is intersection of these two? Null set. Therefore F inverse of 0 comma A intersection F inverse of B comma 1 is null set. It means we are having, what is this? This is nothing but our G. This is our H. F inverse of G and F inverse of H are open set in X and intersection of F inverse of X and F inverse of H is null set. Also, we are having F of A is equal to 0. So, we will consider F of A is equal to 0 implies F of A is subset of 0. F of A is 0 means F of A is subset of 0. So, this we can write it as F of A 0 we can write it as F of A is subset of 0 comma A. Closed interval 0 comma A. So, A is subset of F inverse of 0 comma A. See here, I am considering 2 points in R, A and B. A and B may be different element or it may be same. So, I am defining an open set G such that it is from 0 to A excluding the value of A and H is from B to 1. F inverse of G and F inverse of H is open in X because F is a continuous function. Now, F inverse of G means F inverse of 0 comma A. I am considering intersection of these two open sets. Therefore, intersection of F inverse of B comma 1. This intersection leads to the value null set. It means these are two disjoint open sets. From our data, for closed set A and B, we are having F of A is equal to 0. 0 we can write it as singleton set of 0 and 0 is nothing but it is subset of 0. Again it is subset of 0 comma 1. See, if F of A is subset of 0, F of A is obviously subset of 0, 1, right? It is obviously subset of 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., right? Always this is lesser element, this is increasing. Same way F of A is subset of 0. Obviously F of A is subset of 0 comma A. So I have shifted the function on both sides. I have operated F inverse on both sides. Therefore A is subset of F inverse of 0. Obviously, this means A is subset of G. Sorry, G is A is subset of F inverse of G. In the similar way, we can solve for F of B also. So, we are having F of B equal to 1. We can write F of B is subset of 1. It is subset of B comma 1. And B is subset of F inverse of B comma 1. Therefore, B is subset of F inverse of H. We are having two disjoint closed set A and B, which is subset of two disjoint open set F inverse of G and F inverse of H. Therefore, x comma tau is normal. That's what we have to prove, right? To prove x comma tau is normal, there should exist two closed set A and B such that A should be subset of an open set G, B should be subset of an open set H, G intersection H should be null set, A intersection B should be null set. So, we have proved the necessary part. We have to prove converse part now. So, conversely, what is our data? X is normal. Is our data. X is normal. Now, we have to prove. And we are having, we have to prove that exists a function f such that f of a equal to 0 and f of b equal to 0. What are the data we are having? We are having a set R which takes the value between 0 to 1 and x is normal. Now we have to prove there exists a function f such that f of a is equal to 0 and f of b is equal to 1. So very first thing is we shall prove that there exists a map. First we prove there exists a map f defined on x to R such that f of a is equal to 0 and f of b is equal to 1. Then we prove that this function is continuous. So to prove this, I am defining a function t such that t is defined as m by 2 power n, where m comma n is some natural number and m is always less than or equal to 2 power n. I am defining a function in this way. So from this, we can find supremum of t. So what is supremum of t? Supremum of t is nothing but supremum of small t. So supremum of small t is nothing but supremum of m by 2n, because t is m by 2n. Here m is always less than or equal to 2 power n. So we have to find supremum of m. So 1 by 2n supremum of m. So what is supremum of m? When we will get maximum value here, see m is less than or equal to 2n, right? So when m is 2 power n, we will get maximum value. Whenever it is less than that, we will get lesser value. So supremum of m is 2 power n by 2 power n. So here we are getting supremum of t as 1. Also, we are going to consider two closed set A and B such that these two closed sets are disjoint. If A and B are disjoint set, it is obvious that A is subset of B dash. A and B does not contain any common element. So obviously A will be having common elements in B dash. Since A is closed set, B is closed set, B dash is open set. We can write B dash as x minus B also one and the same. So B dash is open set, x minus B is also open set containing a closed set A. From normality condition, we can find a open set G, subset of X such that A is subset of G closure, subset of B dash, that is X minus B. From our previous theorem proof, I am taking there exists an open set G, subset of X such that A is subset of G closure, subset of X minus B. Now I am defining G as H half and X minus B. I am taking it as H1. I am taking G as H of 1 by 2. I am taking X minus B or B dash as H1. Now this relation reduced to A is subset of H of half, subset of H of half closure, subset of H1. Now I am going to consider a two sets A comma H1 by 2 and H1 by 2 closure comma H1. Again, using normality condition, see here, whenever A is subset of H1, we are having H half, right? Whenever we are having A is subset of H1, we can define this as A is subset of H1 by 2, subset of H1 by 2 closure, subset of H1. In the similar way, whenever A is subset of H1 by 2, we can define this as A is subset of some open set, I will take it as H1 by 4, subset of H closure, and it should be subset of H1 by 2. Whenever A is subset of X minus B, there exists open set A is subset of G closure, subset of X minus B. A is subset of H by 2, so A is subset of H1 by 4, subset of H1 by 4 closure, subset of H1 by 2, and this 2. Again H1 by 2 closure is subset of H1. So this also we can write it as H1 by 2 closure, subset of H3 by 4. I am taking some other open set. Subset of H3 by 4 closure, subset of H1. So when we continue, see now these two are subset of A is subset of H1 by 4. H1 by 4 is subset of H1 by 2. H1 by 2 is subset of H3 by 4. H3 by 4 is subset of H1. So again we will get 4 relation. Here we are getting 2 relation. Now we are going to get 4 relation. So continuing in this way, we are getting a relation such that it satisfies this condition. When we combine all this thing, it is going to increase. So when we combine all those things, we are going to get a relation A is subset of HT, subset of HT bar, subset of H1 for all T belongs to capital T. T is 1 by 4, 3 by 4, etc. See what is T? M by 2 power n. So M is 1, 2, 3, etc. N is also 1, 2, 3, etc. So we are having in this way. 2 power 1, n, M is 1, N is 1. M is 1, N is 2 here. So we are having this relation, and this is our first condition, and second condition is when we combine all these things, very first condition is this, and second condition is T1 and T2 belongs to T such that T1 is less than T2. T1 is less than T2. Now we are going to construct a function for this f defined from x to r such that f of x equal to 0 and for all x belongs to ht. For all x belongs to ht. Now the supremum f of x we are taking it as supremum of t. X belongs to ht. Supremum of T means supremum of capital T. That's what we have proved already. Supremum of capital T is nothing but supremum of T. So supremum of capital T, which is 1. We already got this result. So we get a function f of x is equal to 0. So whenever x belongs to h of t. Otherwise it is 1 for all x does not belongs to h of t. So f of x equal to 0 implies f of x equal to 0. So f of x equal to 0 implies when f of x is 0, whenever x belongs to h of t. So whenever x belongs to h of t, x belongs to a, it should be a subset of h of t. That's what we have proved before, right? So for all t belongs to capital T. For all t belongs to capital T. So when we group all these terms, we are going to get x1, x2, x3. When we combine all those values, we are going to get f of a equal to 0. See, f of x belongs to a. So whenever f of x1 belongs to a, it is 0. F of x2 is 0 when x2 belongs to a. So when we combine all those things, for all the values of a, f of x is 0. Therefore, f of a is 0. Similarly, we can prove that f of b is 1. So to prove this, we have to start with second condition. F of x equal to 1 whenever x does not belongs to ht. Whenever x does not belongs to ht, ht is subset of capital H. So what is H? X minus b. So we have proved that exists a function f such that f of a is equal to 0 and f of b is equal to 1. Now we have to prove finally f is a continuous function. To prove f is a continuous function, I will consider an arbitrary element a in R such that I am having two open sets 0, a and a, 1. R is a usual topology. Therefore, we are having G1. G1 is some open set such that I am taking it as F inverse of 0, a and G2 as F inverse of a, 1. Now, we will express G1 and G2 as, so what is G1? X belongs to capital X such that f of x belongs to 0, a. This is our G1. So, this implies x, whenever x belongs to capital X, we are having, this is f of x belongs to 0 to a means it is 0 to, f of x belongs to 0 to a. So we are having 0 to a. F of x belongs to this means f of x lies between 0 to a. So 0 less than or equal to f of x less than or equal to a. So this implies whenever x belongs to x, f of x is less than a. Similarly, for second case, f inverse of a, 1, I am defining another open set G2 of x. How to, in the same way we are going to define G2 of x also. So G2 of x is x belongs to capital X such that f of x is between a, 1. So how we write f of x between a, 1? We can write it as a less than or equal to f of x. Sorry, a is strictly less than f of x less than or equal to 1. This implies a is less than f of x means f of x is greater, right? This is greater than a. Now G1. So what is our G1? G1 is x belongs to capital X, f of x less than A. And what is G2? X belongs to capital X such that f of x greater than A. So, this implies G1 is union of t less than A ht. And this implies union of t greater than A ht dash closure. So, whenever f of x less than A, this implies x belongs to ht for some t less than alpha. In that way only we have defined it. So, G1 is union of t less than A ht. Similarly, G2 is union of t greater than A ht closure whole dash. This implies we will get x belongs to union of t greater than A ht closure, which is subset of x. Since arbitrary union of open sets are open, union of t greater than alpha ht closure whole dash is open. So, G1 and G2 are open in X. HT closure complement and HT are open in subset of X. Therefore, F inverse of 0, A and F inverse of A, 1 is open. F inverse of 0, A and F inverse of A, 1 are open. So, whenever this is open, F is continuous. That's what we have to prove.